I used to have such a tough time with life. I'd feel like I was falling short in all areas: relationships, business, fitness. I felt like I was on an endless treadmill chasing more, and that one day I'd run through this finish line and everything would be okay. But that was not the case, because I forever sought things in the material world, and there was a God-shaped void within myself. Now, living through seeking the kingdom of heaven first has completely changed my life, but it has done so in a way that I do not believe is traditional, and I do not believe it is as literal as people make it. So over the course of this video, I want to break down what I truly believe it means to seek the kingdom of heaven first. To surrender all forms of misidentification with the world, to let go of your ego, and to free yourself from your need to have an answer, to let go of the chase for more, and in this process experience this overcoming blossoming of life and beauty and joy and peace and fulfillment from within. Because when you are no longer bound to your attachments of the material world, you are set free. When you no longer need life to go a certain way, when you no longer have judgments of people, places, or things, when you accept things as they are, you truly make yourself whole. Now, this is a powerful concept that I want to break down, and we're going to do it by starting from the top. Most people are engaged with the great illusion. They believe they are separate. This is the foundation of all awakening across all traditions. People believe they are separate because they are over-identified with the material world, right? This material world in Eastern traditions is called Maya, the illusion. In quantum physics, it's the fact that the physical world is only 0.0001% of the energy. Well, the truly liberating thing that I always resort back to when I catch myself caught up in the illusion is the fact that every single thing is God. God is this unifying source within all of us that brings us together. And if we identify with the negativity and we identify with the fear, we're identifying with the illusions, the misoriented perspectives that prevent us from seeing the ultimate truth. And you don't need to hold on to this wisdom. You don't need to hold on to this information. You don't need to over-engage with these texts and study these courses and memorize these frameworks. You just need to let go. You just need to realize that they're all pointing towards an inner experience of unity. And it requires you letting go of this separation, this illusion, to truly restore yourself to a unified sense of being with life itself, to a unified sense of being with God, to be guided by these divine principles beyond you. This fear is the emotional experience of separation. What happens if I lose that loved one? What happens if I don't accomplish the career goals and I'm not enough to be loved? Those are all nonsense in the form of thoughts within the ego, within the mind. It is giving our time, energy, and attention to those mental constructs that cause our suffering. When you let go of them and when you stop identifying with them, you are set free. When you have no need or no expectation from life, life unveils its beauty to you. And that's what I want to encourage you to do over the course of this video. Now, I want to show you how the mind and the ego is fracturing your reality, creating this separation, creating this fragmentation, so you can catch yourself. The first is going to be me versus life. It's going to be Grant versus the stress I have going on with the creators I work with, the stress I have going on with the girl I'm dating, me versus life. The second one is going to be self versus God. God, why are you letting this happen to me? You see how there's separation there? It's not. You are the pure awareness, the unconditioned consciousness that is God. You just have to let go of your identification with the things that are not it, and you are restored to this state. And this is why one of my core messages on my channel is surrender and let go. Free yourself. Free yourself from all the constructs that do not serve you and rest easy in the truth. Because your soul finds peace in divine timing. Your soul finds peace in trust and faith because it's truly oriented around truth. Now, this is what the fall from Eden symbolizes. It symbolizes consciousness descending into duality. Think about it, this pure awareness, this pure energetic source of life, this unifying force that guides all things, has descended into matter in the form of us having this experience. Even though you see Grant will not be here forever. And that's why I'm taking advantage of the time I have. And that's why I make these videos, because hopefully I leave some piece of wisdom behind. Hopefully my kids can watch these videos. Hopefully my grandkids can watch these videos and that be like, that was our dad, that was our grandpa. And he chose to stand up for the truth. He chose to believe in something bigger. He chose to seek the connection to the kingdom of heaven first and bring people and share that experience with others. And this is what unifies me. And I realize that the reason I'm so drawn to content and the reason I'm so drawn to this message is because it's the thing that unifies me to the collective experience. I don't feel separate when I'm having this conversation. In the Bible, this is what it means. It says, I and the Father are one. We are no separate. This is why it says the kingdom of heaven is within you, ladies and gentlemen. This is why the Christian mystics were onto something. This is why it's all about Gnosticism, the inner knowing. Because you can read the Bible all you want, but if you do not have that direct inner experience, you're always going to be going to external places for this answer. This is why surrender and letting go is the answer. Because when you let go of all forms of falsehood, the truth naturally arises within you. This is why the first thing we must come to is to realize that this journey is all about knowing thyself. It's not about knowing the ego of Grant, but about knowing the true one source of life, the capital S self. The capital S self is the unifying self, the one being, the oneness that we all share. The lowercase s self is the ego, the thing that separates us, the Grant has all these problems and he's alone in this world and he's never going to be accomplished X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. But when you restore yourself to that orientation of the capital S self, seeking the kingdom of heaven first and unifying yourself with God, which is something that does not need to be earned, ladies and gentlemen. That's a huge thing. How could it have to be earned? Look at the sun unveiling itself right now. I feel it on my skin. I have oxygen for free. I have water for free. The bees are buzzing around in the flowers. Who is to tell you that you need to go through an external person, place, or thing to have this experience? Because it's all coming from within. Now, on this journey, I want you to realize the one thing you're going to face is your ego as the internal resistance. Yes, ego is a survival mechanism, but it's going to really be the unconscious beliefs and programs. The things that you're used to believing, the doctrine, the dogma, the judgments upon others, the expectation of how your life has to go, are the internal beliefs that you're holding as a ceiling in your life. Imagine you're setting all these conditions on yourself. You're saying, I need this certain amount of money, I need these people in my life, I need to drive this car, I need to understand God through this one book. You see how you're setting all these conditions? That's why you're running into a capped experience. That's why you're running into a ceiling, because unconsciously you believe these things to be true. This is how the ego survives, because it's going to resist reality. It's going to forever seek ways to justify its existence through these unconscious beliefs, through these attachments to the world around you. It's always going to be pointing the finger outside. Because the ego cannot exist when you're oriented in that higher concept of self. Resistance is the ego's fuel source. It's the thing fueling the fire. What you resist persists. So if you're continuously fixating over a certain thought or a certain experience, the reason it exists is because you're resisting it. Because you're like, oh my God, why did my boss say that thing at work today? Why did my boss say that thing at work today? You see how that exact mindset is the thing keeping it alive? What if you just let go of it and said, fuck it, I don't care. My life, my joy, my peace, my fulfillment is not going to come down to me fixating over one sentence my boss said. My boss is probably a bot. He probably doesn't have any form of nervous system regulation. And who am I to judge? I have flawed days too. I am imperfect. I am a flawed man. So I'm going to free both of us in the mix. And hopefully you can restore yourself to a sense of peace in that process. Attachment is this unconscious worship to idols outside of yourself. So whatever you fear losing is going to own your consciousness. It's going to own your attention. It's going to own your energy. Now here's why surrender is so important, because it's active union. People always think that surrender is some form of passivity, right? It is not this form of passive application. It is actually a verb. It is a state of being. It is something you do from moment to moment. Surrender is participation with the natural divine intelligence. It is saying, you know what? I'm not going to trust these thoughts and emotions in my body all the time because I've programmed them through years of choosing the same BS. And I'm going to let go of this old identity because clearly it's only gotten me this far. And the more you get in tune with that inner freedom, the more you get in tune with that inner nervous system regulation, the more you get in tune with that peace, you're going to set yourself free. And when you set yourself free, you're learning to operate in this state of detachment, where you're not attached to thoughts, you're not attached to emotions, you're not attached to experiences. So you're learning to carry this state and internal foundation of peace, trust, and fulfillment with you in everything you do. And because you have boundaries now and you're no longer going to say yes to things that disturb you, I don't drink anymore because it makes me feel like shit. I don't smoke weed anymore because it makes me feel like shit. I don't eat unhealthy foods anymore because it makes me feel like shit. Why would I consciously do something that makes me feel like shit? Simple and straight up, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know who's going to tell you that, but why would you do something? Why would you be friends with someone? Why would you ever entertain social media if it's messing with your mental health? This is what living a virtuous path and choosing higher principle looks like, making the hard decision. But because you make the hard decision, you get the experience that so few people get to have, because these are hard choices. But I'm telling you right now that the feeling of freedom and peace that comes with it is out of this world. Surrender is not inaction. Surrender is conscious detachment or non-resistance. It's an acceptance of life. It is allowing things to flow. It is not inflicting your will or trying to control the universe. And when you do this and you accept things as they are, you are set free in the process. You free yourself of the inner resistance. You free yourself of the chains that once governed you. And this is the amazing experience, ladies and gentlemen. Letting go is an active spiritual discipline. It is an active choice to surrender to God, to seek the kingdom of heaven first, to choose to bend the knee to something bigger than yourself. We always try and have the answers. We always try and figure it out. We always think we know best. That is not the case. And I'm getting to a place where I realize it's not even about knowing. It's not even about controlling anything. It's just about being. It's just about allowing things. And just making the best decision you can in this moment given the circumstances by being ultimately present. But you can't be ultimately present if you're attached to worries about tomorrow or you're attached to judgments about yesterday. So you have to let go of those two things that only exist now. The present moment is all we have. We always have this clean slate. But it's always colored because we wear these rose-tinted lenses governed by our past and our worries about our future, which influence your decisions in the now. So if you can let go of that unconscious program within, you're going to have a clean slate. You're going to no longer experience the same emotions. You're going to no longer experience the same thoughts. And it's going to free you for good. But it requires an active, conscious choice. This presence requires awareness. Awareness is the ability to create a space in between an impulse and a reaction, right? You're going to have an impulse because you had a familiar thought or emotion. That is going to lead you to a reaction. Break down that word with me. Reaction. If you get anxiety and you're going to react by smoking weed, you see how you're just creating this karmic loop for yourself? Awareness is the ability to create a gap of space in the middle, a state of observation, To observe is not to judge, it is not to label, it is to purely observe, to shift your focus. You do that without emotion, you do that without judgment. And in that process, when you free yourself of the emotion and you're not governed by that tense feeling in your body, you can make the conscious choice. And now you are responding instead of reacting. This is why in the Bible they say, be still and know that I am God. You must be still and recognize that you are this unconditioned consciousness. This unconditioned consciousness is pure potential. You're existing in the pure field of potentiality that is God, this unifying source, this divine intelligence, this all-knowing and all-seeing and all-powerful being is in the most fundamental part of reality. It's the source energy. I saw this podcast and it was like, do you really think the most intelligent being would ever make itself mortal by choosing a physical experience? No, it'd forever be immortal, weaving itself into the fabric of reality. And when I started to think about that, I'm like, that makes sense. Because it's going down to the core essence of things, not deviating itself further away into the illusion of the material world. Similar to be still and know that I am God, in Taoism we have Wu Wei, which is effortless action. It is operating and dancing with life with no inner resistance. When you are doing the dishes, do the dishes. Do not be focusing on the work presentation tomorrow. When you have the work presentation, focus on the work presentation and don't be worried about the kids at home. That's what effortless action is. To be one with the moment and acting on the thing that requires your attention now. The ego is always going to impose itself onto life, but it does not need to be this way. Spirit participates with life because it is the essence of life. It is dancing through all things. The ego is the separation of it. And your act of separation is the thing that is going to fuel the ego. This is why I hope to guide you to a greater sense of unity in whatever that looks like for you. Whether you believe in Jesus Christ, you believe in the universe, you believe in source energy, it's all manifestations of the same thing. How could it not be? How could it not be? If all things come from God and all things come from the Creator, we are no separate. That is fundamental. Use your brain, ladies and gentlemen. Stop being governed by doctrine. Think, feel, know through experiencing this inner wisdom. You have to have the inner experience. Because when you have the inner experience, you can move through life with wisdom and you're not waiting for an outside source to teach you. You think Yoda needs someone to teach him about the Force? You think Obi-Wan needs someone to teach him about the Force? No, they have experience with the Force. They have experience with the divine energy. They've used the Force, so they don't need to go read a book about it. The kingdom of heaven is a state within you. It is inner coherence, and this coherence is harmony. And this harmony is presence. It is unity, because when things are working as they should, they are working coherently. They are vibrating in a natural, harmonious manner. Your body's functioning naturally as it should be. If something's functioning as it should be within the premises of its tools, you have to be unified in that experience to even make that happen. But if you're in a state of fear, of fight or flight or survival, then you're putting your body in a heightened state that it's not supposed to be in more naturally than not. Peace is always the foundation. It's not the reward. It's the starting operating state. It's the starting mechanism. The kingdom of heaven is unveiled when your resistance dissolves. When you stop entertaining these thoughts and these emotions that create separation, and you restore this inner peace and coherence, that is the state you are looking for. That is why they say, be still and know that I am God. But do not rely on external things. Do not think my videos are going to forever be the source of your transformation. Because You might watch my videos and have your inner state transformed, but you are the one reorienting yourself in that process. The lighting is going downhill quick as the sun sets, but we're almost done. Heaven is a state of consciousness, ladies and gentlemen. Hell is the psychological inversion of that from truth. The divine is not absent. It is right here, right now. It is only your perception that is disoriented. That is why it is called levels of awareness. How aware of you are you aware of the fact that the divine is here right now at all times? No ifs, ands, or buts. Because if you're only aware of that 80% of the time, there's your 20% of illusion. So you just gotta let go of the 20% that's holding on to the illusion. The only thing you need to do is be present to cultivate this state organically. The ego is going to try and consume the garden. It's going to seek outputs. It's going to seek validation. It's going to try and reap the rewards. When presence nurtures the soil, it is a natural moment-to-moment investment in your experience. A flower unfolds naturally. This growth cannot be forced. This inner peace is the thing that is going to make sure the grounds and soil within your garden is fertile, and it is your default state. Surrender is going to be the thing that restores the energy that you have lost in your normal inner war, your normal resistance. Think about your energy as being wound up in attachments to things. If you surrender those attachments, your energy is restored. This is why I use the Garden of Eden metaphor, because spirit descends into matter. Your energy in the form of spirit is now attached into your identification with matter. So if you can free that identification, you can set yourself free. And you can restore your energy and presence and awareness to this moment. Think about it. If you're no longer allowing your thoughts to take you to tomorrow, you are more naturally present. If you're no longer allowing your thoughts to drag you into yesterday, you are more present. This is the metaphor of the Garden of Eden. It's the presence and harmony before we fragmented the experience, before we saw ourselves as separate, before we placed labels upon the animals in the garden, before we bit the apple of knowledge and separated ourselves. To ask the question, why? Think about what why is. Why? To create separation. What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? Why am I here? That is like a very egoic statement, ladies and gentlemen. That is very me versus life type of thing. You see how why creates the separation in the experience? We'll just no longer ask that question. Throw it out the window. Accept life. Trust the path. Realize that there is a divine source guiding all things and we were never separate. And this is the wisdom that will set you free. This is the thing that leads to the death of the false self. True surrender dissolves this identity attachment. This is why the crucifixion represents ego death. The resurrection symbolizes the awakened consciousness when the spirit rises from matter, is no longer attached, it is set free. The false self fears surrender because surrender ends the illusion. It is choosing to no longer engage with that identification with the world. You do not lose yourself. You lose the illusion of separation. You lose those unconscious beliefs of needing to have your identity validated from other people, places, and things. Yourself is the state of awareness right now. Think about it. If you stop thinking the thoughts, if you stop feeling the emotions, if you stop placing labels on things, there is still that sense of awareness, that sense of existence behind your entire experience. This is the state the sages describe. You all have access to it. It is not some enlightened being only type of party. The enlightened ones are the ones that just dissolve the illusion, that realize, oh my God, I didn't have to earn anything. I'm good as I am. Just know you're already forgiven. You don't have to go the distance. Take the power you've been given right now, ladies and gentlemen. The soul does not need completion. It does not need things outside of itself. It is already complete. That mindset is the thing that creates the gap within. All it needs is remembrance. This unity was never absent. It was only obscured by the illusions of the world and the chaos of God knows what entities are running the show in the real world. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got nothing but love and peace for you, and I will see you in the next one. We out.